to Kids versus Stars Edition 7. This is the fun one where a famous creator gets challenged against 4 kids, and I'm pleased to be joined by International Master Jovanka Hauska, who is, luckily, we're on the correct side of the microphone today. But Jovi, thanks for joining me for the show.
Thank you, Mike. You know, I'm so pleased to be here because I wouldn't have missed this one for the world. Alexandra playing 4 kids, well, that is scary, even at the best of times. So yeah, this one is going to be a lot of fun.
It certainly is. And of course, the creator that's playing today is here because she lost a bet. Actually, she lost a game, and that's going to be WFM Alex Botez, because she is the next star on the hot seat. The stars have been doing really well in our format. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but she is the one who is here a little bit against her will, if we can say that. She's going to play against 4 kids, and she told us before the show that she's kind of only here because she gave her word. She's telling her fans right now that she'd rather be anywhere in the world but here, but we've got her, and we're going to see if she's able to play and successfully play against 4 kids at the same time in a symbol. So let's take a look at the format for what we're going to see today. Jovi, tell us about the time control and the goal and all the good stuff.
Well, you know, if you take a look at how much time the players have, well, you will see that Alexandra has 65 minutes plus 15-second bonus, but that is because the kids will be able to make the move at any time. Now, I've done a symbol before. I can tell you it is very, very stressful. She's playing 4 kids, so the first side to get to 2.5-point wins.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the goal. It's kind of like an Olympiad. She is her own country, and the 4 kids, they are their own country. And the goal is just to get to 2.5 however you can, but no draw offers are allowed. And we're going to give her a lot more time. Now, for those of you who looked at those time controls and thought, 15 minutes, that's not so fair to the kids. We've actually found this to be roughly competitive balance. So let's take a look at those 4 kids. This is the ultimate Botez Gambit. I think she'd rather give away her queen, like I said, than be here against these 4 kids. But Jovi, why don't you tell us about some of those kids that she's going to play today?
Well, do you want the good news or the bad news? Well, the good news is that she has the white pieces against all 4 of them. The bad news is that they are really underrated. I mean, we have Ashley Chan, we have Abigail Zhu, just at 9 years old, Kenneth Alba, you know, he's very experienced Mexican player, and we have Larissa Mayorga from Costa Rica, who's actually going to be representing Costa Rica in the next Olympiad. So it's going to make for a lot of excitement.
That's right. We see Larissa there in the bottom right of the screen. So I'll get a chance to meet her in person in Samarkand. Pretty cool that she's only 12 years old and already one of the top females. She played in her country's women's closed championship. So no age restriction in that tournament. Her older sister is the #1 woman in the country. So that's kind of cool. Her and her big sister are going to get to play. There we see Ashley on the bottom left. Now, Ashley actually has been on a Chess Kid broadcast before. For those of you who happen to watch the London Chess Fest, that's right, Jovi, in your country, she's the one that represented, I was going to say USA, North America, she's Canadian, in the transatlantic chess match played on the big screen in Trafalgar Square. So for the dedicated Chess Kid fans, we have seen Ashley before. And of course, she's got that little home country rivalry with Alex Botez, who is Canadian. So we picked her for a specific reason. It's kind of nice, like a North American matchup, right? It's kind of like the World Cup. We got Canada, we got Mexico, we got USA, and we have a Costa Rican.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, just go further down the Pan American Highway.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see how Alexandra fares against the whole lot. But I gotta say, you know, it's going to be stressful for her, and I am down for the viewing. I can't stress that enough. Mike, does that make me a bad person to enjoy someone?
It does not make you a bad person at all. Like I said, we're on the safe side of the microphone, but I understand we're going to get to chat with Alex here, and we're going to get to ask her about what exactly she signed up for. Let's see if we can get Alex on the line here.
Oh, let's see what they're saying.
Alex, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
First of all, I'm sorry for making you do this, but
thank you.
There's not much except wasn't
yeah. You should have seen all those kids were.
Okay. And can I ask you, do you have a plan? Because you're playing kids, go fast and furious. It's going to be your strategy.
Most of my strategy involved showing up, and I'm here, so we'll see where it goes.
And maybe I'll ask you this afterward, but is there another creator that you would like to have enter the torture chamber? Maybe don't give me
My
your answer
sister.
yet. Okay,
Sorry.
give me your answer. That's all right. Give me your answer. All right. Is Andrea watching, by the way?
No, Andrea's just getting in today, but I would really love to watch my sister do this.
Fantastic. Okay, well, the first job is for you to survive so that you can officially make the challenge against your sister. We're sorry that Anna did this to you. We wish you well. We'll check in with you in the first 20 minutes of the match, and we'll ask you how it's going about midway.
No, that sounds good. Also, I don't see the challenges yet. They're going to start automatically, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay, cool. And is it going to be the names of the kids so I know which one I'm going to know which one I'm playing, right?
We look at real names on our side, so I think you're going to know real names and not necessarily just their screen name. But I'm sure my team will get you their screen names just in case I'm wrong, and they'll be in your ear helping you as much as they can. Because guess what, my team is mostly adult, and they're probably pulling for you, even though they're not allowed to say it.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, we don't hire 9-year-olds at Chess.com. Just making sure, in case anybody was wondering.
Wait, what's the oldest and youngest kid I'm playing today?
Ashley's 13, Kenneth and Larissa are 12, and Abigail's 9.
Okay, nice.
Yes, yes. Hey, well, there you go. You have all the deets. Good luck. We'll let you go, and we'll get this party started very soon.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah. You know, Mike, I suspect that Alexandra does have a plan, that she's going to be perhaps targeting the most inexperienced one, maybe 9-year-old Abigail. That's who I would target, because you have to count on the fact that your experience is going to get you somewhere, right?
Yeah, in fact, she's giving us her sort of show and go attitude, like, oh, I just showed up. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just, but I wonder if that's part of an act. I wonder if she actually did do a little bit more research into these players, ask me their ages, but I don't know. I think maybe she knows a little bit more about these players than she's, I don't know. Maybe she's so busy that she's telling the truth.
But for sure she Ashley, right? So Ashley, that she, okay, well here, maybe I'm a draw, but open up with D4. She exclusive that we do in the game, and D4.
There you go, D4. Like the same symbols for your games. There's a humorous story about 4 players who fire very similar openings. That's not going to happen. There's openings itself a bit of a Nimza Ashley game. So even if she doesn't win the match, she's hoping at least to protect
Let's go.
Check it out.
And we are back with Kids versus Stars. We had some gremlins in our audio, but actually, there's some gremlins in Alex Botez's position because I think she just got a little bit rattled by playing four boards. Here, Yovi Black played the quite normal d7 to d5, and she thought about guarding her c-pawn, but actually, it was her d-pawn that was a problem. After pawn to b3, what did Black do to gain the upper hand here early in the game?
Well, one of the problems with not developing the pieces is that d4 is touch sensitive. So here, this allows black to simply go d takes c4. And then you just have to go, I accept that I have blundered a pawn and go knight f3 and just accelerate the development as quickly as possible. I know the engine is probably going to say much, much better for black. But actually, you can still get the kind of Catalan compensation if you go knight f3, bishop g2, castle kingside, and you can kind of, as we say, wing it a little bit. But as it stands, if you drop the d-pawn, then usually you're in for a whole load of trouble because what happened next to Alex was not good.
Yeah, she could have gotten control of the center, as you said, in compensation. But now things went from bad to worse really quick. This was her exact nightmare. Queen takes d4, and now she's got to guard this knight. Probably, I don't know, some move like rook c1, or maybe you should play knight f3 right away. Kick the queen out before she becomes even more of a pest. She played queen to b3, but actually, although that guards the knight, it loosens the bishop, it loosens the protection of the rook, it does not drive the queen out of there. And the eval bar went crazy. Yovi, what was the cruncher that Ashley found?
Yeah, it's actually a really lovely move. You know, she just put the knight into the center, knight to e4. And not only does that threaten queen takes f2, which looks really good, there's also pressure against the knight. There's also queen takes bishop as well. And you can't go knight takes knight because queen takes a1 is going to be a real problem. So, I mean, I was thinking about how to try to survive this. I mean, if I were in Alexandra's shoe, I'd probably castle queenside and hope for the best, but that's not really inspiring because knight takes f2 is there in the air. So I think it's more or less done and dusted. I think we actually have a move. Alex decided just to go knight takes knight. I mean, here, I mean, this is the problem. The white king is unsafe. You're going to drop material. It's just one of those bad days at the office, and then you have to drop back the queen to d1.
Yeah,
and
then
yeah, what I'm just envisaging is you can go queen b2, or if you want to bank it, you can also go queen takes queen. But there's no need to trade off queens. You go queen b2, set up rook to d8, and some pins along the d line, and yeah, it's not looking pretty. And I don't see Alexandra surviving this one.
right, so now she's got to think about game theory. I mean, she's a poker player. Should she just resign and try to focus on the next three boards? Because every move on this board is distracting her and costing her time. That's, I know, from an ego perspective, resigning in the first 10 or 15 minutes against your countrywoman can't feel great. But from a game theory perspective, Yovi, do you think she should just resign this game?
Yes. From a game theory perspective, absolutely. You know, this is going to cost her some energy. Then she can just focus on the three other games, which are pretty level. But the chess player attitude is always to be rather stubborn about it and see how long you can prolong the game. And so I suspect that she's going to keep this one going, at least get to 15 moves, because no one wants to lose. And how many moves have they played? I mean, it was less than 10 when I last saw it. Now they're on move 11. Yeah, you don't want to be losing in 11 moves. Get to move 20, then you can resign and work the magic on the other boards.
And by the way, it does look like Ashley has maybe watched too many of my chess kid videos where I always advocate trading for the endgame, because she traded bishops. Now, she's not necessarily going to trade queens in this position. I call that old man chess, although in a game with two ladies, I'm not going to say that. We call it smart woman chess when I used to do my show with Alice Lee. But I'm a big fan of trading because that's my style. I play a very boring style. But queen b2, rook d8 looks pretty good. Let's keep going further south. We start in Canada. Let's go to USA, then Mexico. We'll just keep going down the Pan American Highway. And here we go in the game against Abigail Zhou. And Abigail is actually a silver medalist from the 2024 World Cadet Championships. So second place in the entire world in the under 8 girls age group. What do you see in Alex's game here against Abigail?
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, this one is looking really balanced. I can see a lot of good things for Abigail's position. She's threatening to go a4 as black and go knight b6, just get that knight jumping to the c4 square. For Alexandra, she has to counter, I suspect, in the center. And she has lost a few tempo, I'm going to say, because her knight was on e5 and she dropped it back to f3. And it's very difficult psychologically to kind of play for a positive result after you've done those things. I mean, if Alex had gone f4 and just said, you know what, I don't care about any backward pawns, then absolutely everything would be fine. But here she has to be rather sophisticated. But it's not, I mean, it's still very equal. And I suspect that what's going to be happening is that Alex will have to prepare for an e3, e4 break at the right time.
So e3, e4, I love this idea, very typical in the Carlsbad. What do you think about the idea about going after the backward c-pawn? Or do you think that this knight will plop into c4 before it becomes a problem? Actually, queen back already undefends this pawn, so it's already looking a little bit more tasty. But what are your thoughts on the plan of going after the backward pawn?
I play this type of position as black, and it's actually really superficial that the pawn on c6 is weak, because yes, yes, you can attack it with knight to e2, but it's simply going to be defended by a rook coming to the c line, and job done. And then you can get on with the plan of going knight b6, knight c4. The plan that black has of going a4, that does worry me. So I think I would probably, as white, first go a4, take some time out to stop black getting that clamp on this really important square. And the reason it's so important is because once you get that knight lodged in there, well, you're never going to kick it out. And then you just have to go all in the center. So Alex has to be really guarded here. I think she has to go a4. And if she doesn't do that, then she's got to be planning something in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't look like a Caro setup. I know it wasn't exactly a Caro, but you've literally written the book on the Caro, so I know that this Carlsbad pawn structure is probably not unfamiliar to you. So thanks for that insight. I don't know many plans in the Carlsbad. So e4, we'll see if Alex puts a rook behind the e-pawn and goes for it. But let's keep on going south of the border. We're taking a plane to Mexico, and we're completing our World Cup coverage, Canada, USA, and Mexico. And here is the live position with Kenneth Alba, who is the North American Youth Chess Champion. He got a top 3 result. He's also pretty good at blitz. Now, we're giving him 15 minutes in this game, but he won first place in the Pan American School Blitz Championship. We have kind of a Pan American event. He's actually used half of his time. That's a lot more than in previous editions of this event, because the kids only get 15 minutes to start out. They do get a 15-second increment, but he's already used up half of his time, whereas Alexandra's only used up, maybe about 15% of her time. But the clock management notwithstanding, Yovi, walk us through this position.
Yeah, I also just wanted to add a few words on Kenneth, because when I was told the participants, I went and Googled them, and I saw this video of Kenneth. I think he's just 9 or 10 years old at the time, playing against Ray Enigma, and it was a big fight. So he's someone who's not easily fazed by the stars, shall we say. And here in this top position, I'm liking Kenneth's position. He's got the light square bishop out to g4. And the issue for Alex is, will she react to bishop takes knight ideas? I'm not sure she has to, actually, because one kind of plan that you can do is you just let that trade happen and go bishop to g3, and you kind of create a defense for the white king in that manner. I'm a bit afraid that if she plays knight to d2, she sounds the retreat once more, and thankfully there's a bishop on g4, because otherwise you'd have to be worried about bishop takes h2 ideas. But this kind of Carlsbad structure is very much dependent on the plans of pushing the pawns. So as white, you want to be going b4, b5, going for that minority attack just to disrupt the queen side. And if you don't get that in, then normally you're jumping in with a knight again to e5, known as the Pillsbury, and where you want to be reinforcing that with f4. Since she doesn't have that plan to her disposal, then another thing what you can do is just set the minority attack of going b4, b5 on the back burner for just a little while, and then just play to defend the king. So you want to be going bishop g3, you want to be going rook b1, b4, but leave that for the later time. Wait until the white king is happy, because I normally, Mike, I have some kind of like signs in the position, and one of them is that if a queen is separate from her king, it's not easy for the queen to come to the king's aid, then the king is vulnerable. And so you constantly have to reinforce the protection there. So that's what I would be doing. I'm a little bit nervous though, because I like what Kenneth has done. And normally the problem piece in the Queen's Gambit declined as black is the light square bishop. And now it's here out there on g4, and there are questions.
Yeah, she's trying to solve those questions. The nice thing about Alex Botez being such a popular streamer, she's actually streaming on her own. And while I'm not listening to her, I can see which game she's looking at. And it is this one. And she is considering letting the bishop take the knight and doubling up her pawns. I would say another nice rule, if you want to call it that for those of you out there, the stronger the player, the more willing they are to accept double pawns to get the bishop pair. I'm not saying it's always good or always bad. I'm not making a blanket statement like that. I'm just saying that stronger players don't just look at double pawns and freak out. They do know some positions where it's a reasonable thing to do. So she's considering letting it happen, but while she struggles, she's actually picked up her pawn and she's hovering it on b4. So while she debates whether or not she's going to play the minority attack, let's move on to our last game. We have to travel across a couple of countries. I'm sorry, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, but we arrive in Costa Rica and we see 12-year-old Larissa Mayorga's game, and we almost had another Carlsbad. We almost had our third Carlsbad, but now I see the pawns are symmetrical. So, Yovi, you've got to do some original thinking. We're not going to give you the same pawn structure in this one.
That's the thing. But talking about original thinking, unfortunately, the pawn structure doesn't really lend itself to that. So first up, there's one open line, and that is where the battle is going to be fought. Like literally, like black is going to double on the C line, white is also going to be doing the same, and it's like one side is going to break through, and the other one is like hold. And I gotta say, on account of that knight being lodged there on C4. The knight on c3 is a touch sensitive, and it is definitely Alex who is on the defensive here. So I'm expecting rook c1, rook c2, hold the barriers for a while and just defend until black gets really frustrated. I mean, one of the things that is in Alex's favor as white is that if she's able to go knight to like double up on the C line and then just go knight to b1 and kick this knight away from c4, then the position will fizzle out to a draw. Not great though.
Another way we could have a draw. By the way, no draw offers are even allowed in this event, but if the rook comes to c1 and then this rook travels over, as you mentioned, Yovi, sometimes knight takes pawn becomes an idea. Not right now, because when the queen takes, she guards the knight. But if we go for a doubling of rooks, then black actually has knight a3. And if you take, I get the piece back, and you've got some really terrible a-pawns. And if you move your rook backward, then it is a draw offer. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it is possible.
But Mike, even in that analysis that you showed, like rook c2 would be a big mistake, because it was a plan that I was pounding the table for, but it's actually a really bad move in this particular position, because you just go knight takes b2. And it's like, oh, this was the sacrifice that I had in my mind. This is working, nice and then rook takes knight, and then, you're going to be playing this position of pawn down. Not great.
It's funny the blind spots you have in chess, because in this position, when the rook comes to c2, you would think that b2 is better protected, but weirdly, knight takes b2 only works because the queen can't jump over and take on b2 and defend the knight. So that is a possibility for how the game might end up continuing, but we will see how that one ends up turning out. So this is we've done our little tour. I just want to go back really quickly to our first game, because I want to see, she did not resign it just yet, but Ashley also did not trade queens. She's playing a little bit more uncompromising chess than I would. No old man chess here. But now that we've done a tour of all 4 games, I wonder if now might be a good time for us to just listen in, Yovi. Do you want to hear the thoughts of Alex and see what she's debating in this symbol?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I could just go here. and run from the checks. So that's one option.
Okay,
But
so
does my
she's
rook
listening
actually
to
want
the
to be
game
on
against
c1? I
Kenneth.
don't know.
And she's been debating this
Oh,
position for a
Ashley
while.
moved. I think I just need to move here because this position is lost anyway. I think I
You
need
heard
to
her
just
say
start
it. She
developing
knows
fast
she
as
knows her fate.
possible.
She knows it's lost.
Okay. And I'll come back to this. Oh, it's my turn on most of these boards. Okay.
Yeah, she has to hurry.
Yeah, I don't think she should be taking this much time. I know, see, when you get down to 4 games and you've still got like 40 minutes on each, you might feel comfortable, but I promise that time starts ticking really quickly because that's when the games liven up as far as complexity.
Yes, they do.
pushing.
They're certainly getting complex. And I gotta say, she's on the back foot in quite a few of these positions. She has to be really tactically aware. So this is the point where she is the one treading with caution. Yeah, I mean, it might be time for her just to give up against Ashley Jan, because it's going to be very, very difficult to come back from this one. She's exchanged down, queen takes a2. Black has a very simple plan of just running with the a pawn, and that one looks like it's done and dusted. I can see that there's danger in the air in her game against Abigail. And the thing is, as you mentioned there, if one position gets critical and you spend a lot of time, then you forget about what is happening in the other games, and you could just lose your focus there. So
I totally agree. And by the way, something you mentioned about 4 minutes ago is happening because in the game against Kenneth, she finally played knight d2. And look at Kenneth's move, bishop h5. Now, you may think the bishop's going backward just to go to g6 to get rid of that battering ram on the light square diagonal. But Yovi, he cleared out the g4 square, and now suddenly bishop takes h2, something you brought up a while ago. King takes h2, and the knight can come to g4 check. And unless the king can come out to g3, which is diabolical, but he may have to, that may be the only way to not just lose material and lose the game. It is becoming something that we should actually analyze. So let's say that Alex doesn't particularly see it coming, and I don't know, puts a rook on the semi-open file. Let's take a look at this. Bishop takes h2. King takes h2. Knight g4, because the g4 square has been vacated. Now, if you just allow the bishop to get captured, you're down a pawn and the queen's coming in. So I think you got to roll the dice with king to g3. And now what do you think, Yobi?
g5. It isn't,
G5?
and the bishop is still trapped.
So can the king go to
okay,
h3?
well okay. Yeah, maybe the king could go to h3 and you can kind of hope to survive.
Yeah, I guess you have to find exactly king h3, so your bishop has a retreat square. The king always feels very vulnerable here because when the queen moves up, it certainly looks like there's big problems, but I guess bishop f5 just saves the day. You just put your bishop on f5 and you block out the queen. So maybe bishop takes h2 is a false Greek gift, a Trojan horse. I don't know. I'm mixing my my European metaphors here, but I don't know that it's actually a threat.
No, it actually wasn't a threat, but king h3 was such a hard spot because instinctively you see that Greek gift and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to come out with the king to h3, and you're thinking, wow, you know, there's going to be queen to d7 and there's going to be problems, and especially if you're not in a calculation mode. So here I can completely understand going bishop to g3 is probably a reaction that I would have done, especially in her shoes, you know, with 4 other games. And yeah, bishop to g6, just getting rid of the light squares. And now we got those kind of typical Carlsbad positions where white is now going to be going b4, you know, trying to post up a knight to c5. The white king is still safe-ish. I always say safe-ish because whilst the queen is there on c2, you know, I can see a future where black will go knight to g4 and, you know, double the pawns, the trade-off bishops on g3, and then, you know, some vulnerability on that side of the board. So you always got to be careful, but white's goal quite clear. The long term, it is old man chess, as you say, Mike.
Well,
Secure
it's
the
only
king
old man
side.
if you're winning. It's only old man if you're trading off. I don't think she's winning just yet, but yeah.
No, but that's the way to go. I mean, I actually learned this from Grandmaster Keith Arkle. I mean, he writes about it beautifully in a chapter in, I think, Chess for Life, where he talks about this particular structure. And he says, like, yeah, you do whatever you can. First priority is just make sure that the king is always safe. You neutralize any attacks. You can do this by trades. And then, you just go b4, b5. You get that weakness on the queen side. And then you grind the game out until you win a pawn, and then you grind the game again.
That is the Arkell special, and he's a tournament vet. I definitely trust him. I do love the decision of bishop g3, though. You're playing a symbol. You don't really have 10 minutes to invest to see if bishop takes h2 is going to work. You don't really want your king on h3. I think she made a very, very practical choice. Let's move over to the one game where the computer is saying she does have a small advantage, although as soon as I click on it, I'm not so sure if that advantage actually exists. But this is her game against Abigail Jo. And Abigail, of course, we said is a silver medalist in the World Cadet, but she's not gotten e4 in. That was the big central push. Of course, if she does it now, there's a rook spying her queen. So I bet she's going to be a little bit hesitant to put her pawn on e4. What are your candidate moves here for our star, Alex Botez?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, though, Mike, because black has just played knight to g6, and there's a rook on e8 eyeballing the white queen. And so if you're not worried about knight coming to f4, and you're playing a little kid, and they are usually really tactical, like, do you worry about that if that's not a threat? If you're like, I'm cool, then I'm still a big fan of preventing black from going a4 and jumping in with the knight to b6 and c4. So I would probably go b3 and then just kind of chill, say everything is absolutely fine. I don't actually think knight f4 is a big problem, so she's probably safe to go b3. If she doesn't do b3, it's actually really difficult to find a plan. I can't see anything other than doubling on the c line. And that's always going to be met by knight b6, knight c4.
Usually once per show I find something, and I'm going to raise my hand. Hopefully you can call on me, because I'm going to steal your ideas, but I'm doing it very openly. I'm going to borrow from you. Okay, what if we play bishop takes pawn first, and then we play knight f4? I'm going to guess the computer hates me because it wants to give away the queen for a rook and two minor pieces. But were it not for that refutation, the queen's having trouble here guarding the bishop and guarding the knight and saving herself. Some sort of normal move like queen here or queen here is probably defeated by knight takes, queen takes, queen takes. But don't forget, one of the defenses in chess, when your opponent sacrifices material, is that, let me put the queen back, is that you can give away some material yourself. And I think this is the antidote. And white ends up with a rook and two minor pieces, and therefore white's better. So I almost stole from you, but now I'm going to take my comments off the air, Yovi, because it doesn't quite work.
Well, no, but it's definitely a dangerous idea, I gotta say. Even in the one where white is meant to be much, much better, with an unsaved king, I can certainly see black being tempted to make a move like that. But Alexandra went for one better, not b3. She went b4. And now the question is, does Abigail go in for those shenanigans of bishop takes h3, tempting though it might be, or does she go for the positional approach, which would be knight b6. Knight b6, get a knight to c4. And that horse becomes a beast.
Yeah, very interesting idea. In fact, you know what? I'd love to look at all of the kids' reactions here. Abigail's kind of playing in the dark there. Abigail, we got to buy you a light bulb. Let's take a look at this game in addition to all the other games, because part of the beauty of this event is, frankly, watching Alex struggle against four kids. And I love to see their reactions at the same time. For those of you just joining, this is Kids versus Stars, episode 7. Alex is here against her will. We have word on the street that Andrea has locked the door and taken away the key. And Alex lost a game to Anna Kramling. Anna was our last star to play this event. And now Alex is on the hot seat. She told us she doesn't want to be here, but she is a woman of her word. And so she's playing 4 kids from North America, many with FIDE ratings close to 2,000. Anyway, there we see those 4 kids. We've got Kenneth Alba from Mexico, Abigail Zhou from USA, Larissa Mayorga, she's a Tika from Costa Rica, and Ashley Qian from Canada. We know that Ashley's been winning for a while. That's Ashley in the top left. Anyway, those are our 4 boards. And what do you see on these boards, Yobi?
Yeah, like I'm drawn to the Ashley game, but I know that one is over. But it's quite fascinating, like because the rest of the games are all quite intense, and I say intense because they're slow burners. And the one thing that does concern me, say like against Kenneth, is that Kenneth is down to 4 minutes, and the nerves, they start pounding. You start to feel the jitters when the clock ticks down. I don't know about you, Mike. I mean, I know this young generation, I mean, they have nerves of steel. They're used to playing online chess, with no increment. But I start to get nervous, and blunders will happen because I suspect that actually in that particular game, she has an advantage. It's the game in the, let me get my colors right, is the game in the red.
Yeah, the game in the red at the top right there. You're right. In all previous editions, this is edition 7, but it's our 5th edition in this 1 versus 4 format. The kids have tried to assert not necessarily their clock dominance. Remember, they only start with 15 minutes. They generally try to preserve some of that time, and he has not quite done that. But you already told me, you did your research, and you said that he's played with Ray Enigma. If I played Ray Enigma in a game, and I've seen Ray Enigma at 10 or 20 events, but if I ever played him in a game, I would be intimidated because I don't know who I'm playing. So I don't know if this format makes him more or less nervous, but I would tell you, I would rather play this event than play against Ray Enigma because I just don't know who it is. Wouldn't that be weird to you to not know who you're playing?
I actually thought this was a rather cool concept. And I do remember that they did some kind of Halloween banter blitzes where people were playing in masks and you had to guess who the player was. I quite like that one. So yeah, I agree with you. It is a little bit disconcerting because I guess you just see some checkered face and nothing else. And you just know that he's Spanish and it's a he. That's it.
Right, he does conceal his voice. But back to this game, I think that Alex Botez, her not playing a lot of symbols on Chess.com, and also, I'm going to be honest with you, she's hurting herself by being a better creator because she's literally talking to her audience right now, trying to explain her moves. But if she was literally just thinking about the games and not commentary, she would look to see where it's her move, and she'd play queen takes d3 right away because obviously everybody in the chat knows it's what she's playing. But she's burning clock by not playing queen takes d3. So sometimes in these events, it helps to have a little bit of experience because you can very quickly scan and be like, oh, a move was made on that board. Let me quickly check that board. Oh, bishop takes d3. Okay, queen takes d3. Now back to my other boards, right? You literally, I think, want to be jumping around a little bit. I know that's easier said than done because, Yobi, once the wheels get turning on one game, you kind of want to finish your thought. You don't want to start speaking English and switch to Spanish and then go back to French and be mixing everything up. That's kind of what you're being asked to do in these symbols.
Yeah, no, I can also tell you, I did a symbol, an online symbol myself once, and it was very stressful because you just see one board and then you make a move and then you kind of like automatically rush to the next board. Like it's your brain going into some hyper mode. And I did it and I was not streaming. Every time I have streamed, I also get even more hyper because I feel like I have to talk, I have to say something, I have to look at what the chat is saying, talk a little bit to them. And then before I know it, I'm not really concentrating on the chess and it all's gone completely wrong. And here where she has gone queen, take the piece. So she has played queen takes d3 and it's all good. I think she's going to be feeling really comfortable in this particular game. I suspect that she probably will dedicate more energy now onto the other games where it's a little bit tricky, actually.
Yeah, she's played the Botez Gambit to its true perfection. She has lost a game early on to make it more of a challenge. Let's move over to Larissa's game because we did see those tactics on the C file. And so let's see if any of those tactics came to fruition. I'm going to hit the magic button to make sure that we're in the live position. And here we are. So white has gone the opposite way from what we thought. We thought white was going to challenge black. White just cleared out of the C file. As John Fedorovich would say, It's student body right. White has just moved every piece off of the queen side practically and given up the c-file. Do you like this strategy?
Actually, I love it. I think it's really smart of Alex to do this, because if she just kind of piled up on the C line, I think the best she could have hoped for was just operation eliminate absolutely everything, and then it would be rather drawish. Draw, knowing that she's losing against Ashley, is not good. So this way she keeps attention, and there's no way for Larissa to actually infiltrate on the C line. C2 square is nicely covered by the bishop, and now there's like operation beatback. I'm also looking at this rook on c6 and the queen on d7, and I'm like, oh, it would be so nice if a white knight could land on e5. That would be a fork in itself. But yeah, and it's also Alex to play, so she can actually go knight f3 and ask the questions, and I think it's such a good idea just to keep the tension, keep the game, especially because Larissa is the one who's got less time.
Yeah, and I think I didn't look this up necessarily, but I believe Larissa might be the lowest rated. Not that she's low rated by any means, but if you were targeting a player pre-event, then that might be the one. Again, we don't really know if Alex was doing some diligence on these players. She kind of told us she wasn't. But maybe she was just saying that. We don't really know how clever she was being. But also remember, she's basically down a game. So if she wants to win this match, she can't just get symmetry on all boards. She's got to create some complications. So I love this move, knight f3. I think she's going to play it and could put some questions to black. You know what? Let's involve chat here for a second. Chat, tell us what you think the final score is going to be. Just for simplicity, list Alex's score first. Okay, and I doubt you're going to say 4-0 because you've probably been watching that game against Ashley Chen. But anyway, tell us what you think the final score is going to be. If you get it right, I probably won't say your name because can't keep track, but you'll feel some warm fuzzies tonight. Okay, so chat, let us know.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting question, Mike. Shall we have a go at answering? What do we predict, or shall we just keep neutral?
I like to stay neutral because I'm really boring on this subject. Plus, I want the stars to keep playing. Okay, I don't want the next possible star to be watching this and being like, "Well, I'm not going to play if Mike's just going to root against me." So, but you're welcome to. I'm a company man.
No, I'm not going to root. I wasn't going to root for anyone, but I suspect. Okay, so that things are turning in her favor in the other 3 games. I suspect that she's going to go into grinding mode and eke out wins against Abigail and Kenneth as well, because his position psychologically is pretty difficult to play because White has a nice plan. And against Larissa, well, Larissa has to be on her guard for that one move, and actually it's a really unpleasant move to face. So I suspect that we're looking at 2.5, 1.5 in favor of Alex, and I think she survived the worst of it.
That would be the ultimate Botez game, but like I said, basically spotting the field a game and coming back and winning 2.5 out of 3. I do want to tell you, you were asking about what's going to happen in this match. I demurred, but I will tell you historically, since we switched Kids versus Stars to a 1v4 format, the Stars have won all 4 events. And every single time that I compile the field of 4 kids, I always think it's going to be 50-50, and every single time, the content creator, the star, has won. That would be Anish Giri, Danya, rest in peace, David Howell, and Anna Kramling. All 4 of those found different ways to beat the kids by different scores. So she's got a little bit, you don't want to be that first person, right? You don't want to be USA versus Australia in the America's Cup. That's a deep cut. For those of you who came thinking there'd be no sailing references, well, you just got one. I'm Dennis Connor, and nobody's listening to what I'm saying. Let's go back to chess.
That went over my head. Sorry, Mike.
It's okay.
I would have joined you there, but I had no idea what was going on.
That's the only sailing reference you'll ever hear from me. Let's go back. So how does she actually stop 95?
Yeah, this was the big question. And the thing is, if you just slide the queen away, the knight still lands on that square, and then what next? Is there something disastrously wrong with bishop d6 and try to cover it that way? That would be my instinct. And if the evaluation, look at that, that's not good.
Let's figure out why. Because that's not a movement of a little bit. That's a movement of a lot. I wonder, do we trade and play knight e5 anyway? And the rook on c6 is running short on squares? And then f3 traps the knight. Did I find something?
Oh, yes. The knight is
Take.
going to get...
Oh, maybe I didn't find
No,
something.
rook c7. And the knight actually has some little holes to escape to. F3, I thought you were in there, but knight g3
Yeah, knight
is
g3.
a problem.
Okay, that means we have some work, Yovi, because the computer says that white is much better, but we did not, we beating me, did not find it. So what is it? Let's go back to square one.
But maybe we can play on your idea. Still go knight e5.
Okay.
Yes.
After the bishop's trade?
Maybe not after the bishop trade. Maybe just do
Okay.
knight e5 immediately.
Okay. Knight e5, got it. And then f3, and the knight can't go to g3 or g5 because we kept the bishop on the board.
But after bishop takes knight, which is forced,
Yeah?
you capture him with the pawn.
And then playing f... Oh, no, because the knight gets the c5
Oh, bishop takes
square.
knight! Oh, the rook on d1 has suddenly become alive, Mike. You take with
Very
the
nice.
pawn.
Take with the pawn. I'm getting there. The knight moves. We'll pick a square. Doesn't matter. And then
Doesn't matter.
bishop takes because of the pin. Very nice. Very nicely spotted. Yovi, I'm glad you were there for me because I was struggling to find everything. But that is the antidote. This is what I love about the move knight f3. One of the most common defenses, bishop d6, is also a losing defense. When you can set trapdoor tactics for your opponent by making reasonable moves, I love that. So, could be some trouble here for Larissa. She's got to find some ultimate defensive move and not the common one, bishop to d6.
Well, she just played rook b6, so she did not fall for that particular trap. So, okay, but it does mean that she can no longer challenge on the c line. So knight to e5 is a very natural move, and I do feel that Alexandra is taking over.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And only 3 minutes left for Larissa, so she's getting low on time. We already saw Kenneth was getting low on time. I have to say, Alex's time management is not bad. Even in the game that she's losing, Ashley only has 4 minutes. This, I think, represents one of the better time managements from what we've seen. Abigail's got 6 minutes, but Abigail is on move, and her clock is the one ticking down. So, I think the worst case scenario for the star is not necessarily just to lose the match, but imagine if all 4 of your games were going and you were like below 10 minutes on all 4 games. That is a nightmare scenario. You're like flagging on 4 different boards. That does not appear to be happening here. And she has very real chances of making a comeback in this match, even though that one game still looks lost against Ashley.
Yeah, she looks really calm, I've got to say, because as you mentioned, playing 4 kids all at once, you would be thinking in panic mode. But Alex, completely calm. I think that now the nerves are settled and she's sensing that things are turning.
Yeah, let's actually test your theory. I don't see her talking a whole lot, but let's drop back into her audio and listen to her because maybe she'll explain some of her chess thoughts and feelings.
At least some outpost, please. Anything? Okay, rook b6.
She's
Not
talking
sure
about
what
Larissa
they're
in the
trying to
bottom
threaten
right.
here. This is defended for now. I can't push it because of that. Oh, he's trying to get out of the way. Okay, so if I go knight here, does the queen go there? Let's try to create some problems for me. But then I push the knight back.
She's looking at a lot of forcing moves.
So here, queen here, I go there, takes, I take, rook takes, and then I can't block, so that is a little annoying.
Fascinating line where she's going to win the knight on e4 and lose all of her queenside pawns. She's gone deep down a rabbit
I mean, I
hole
can always
here.
just play rook here, and everything is defended. That's not so bad, right? So knight here, queen here, move the rook over, defend, and then we kick out the knight after.
It's a good plan to evict the knight.
Yeah, and actually, when we get done, I'm actually going to show you the moves that she's thinking of to help clarify. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. So in this position, she's gone ahead and played knight e5. Here's what she was looking at. She was looking at queen a4, and then one of her thoughts was to play f3, which does officially trap the knight. But then the queen will take on a2, and she was wondering after takes what happens when the rook takes, because she's already lost 2 pawns for the piece. That pawn might go down also, and I think this is the exact position you don't want to play in a clock simul because it's just so imbalanced. So then she started looking at a more calm move. She said, hey, wait a minute. f3 is not going anywhere. Let's keep that move in my back pocket. And she's planning on playing rook a1. Very, very calm move to defend a2 and to play f3 later. So if I was reading her thoughts, if I was taking her verbal cues and putting them on the chessboard, I think those were her thoughts there, Yovi.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, I gotta say. Rook a1 is a really sophisticated move, I've gotta say, because I was there thinking about pushing pawns with b3, but if you do that, you give up the a3 square, whereas rook a1, you keep the tension on the board. And you keep saying to black, hey, I could go f3 at any time, I could go rook c1, you wait for whatever direction I'm gonna go. So I really like this type of thinking, and it's really annoying as well when you're playing with no time, which the kids they're down to, I think, 3 minutes, and they want the forcing lines. They want that natural moves, that they can play at tempo. And if there's a lot of tension on the board, they're the ones who are going to have to do the thinking in order to come up with the moves.
And the queen just went back to d8, so not quite the most aggressive move. It's tough for these kids. It is their biggest game on their biggest stage of their whole life. I know they're not playing for like a world championship or anything, but they've got more eyeballs on this game. And it's really, really hard to play your same chess knowing you only got one chance of this. It's just a one game against the star, and the queen went back to d8. Now, there does seem to be an advantage that's opened up in the Abigail game. So let's go back over to that game. I don't know if it's material or positional, but we're going to jump over and we're going to take a look at it and see exactly what has happened. Let's actually go back a few moves to the last position we looked at. I believe we looked at this position after b4, after the bishops traded, and then the knight kind of passively went backward. So, we had a missed idea. Now, we looked at bishop takes h3 in a previous line, but apparently it works now. Because the knight doesn't guard the queen. So, Yovi, tell us why that makes a huge difference in the bishop takes h3 line.
Yeah, this was your genius idea where you just ruined the white king side, and then after knight to f4, if you take the knight, this is what you were considering. Rook takes queen, and now bishop takes queen. Now it's bishop takes queen, because before it was knight takes rook.
Yeah, the knight was there,
right?
Yeah.
And the knight was guarding absolutely everything. And now here the queen is coming in and start chomping away. And when the queen starts eyeballing the very exposed king, it's going to be a problem. Maybe there was something better. Maybe you don't even need to do that. But the knight on a2 is definitely offside. So really nice tactical like that strike there for Abigail. But it's very difficult to see because you look at knight to f4, that's the most direct way. You don't tend to, it's actually really hard to reverse the moves. And that's
yeah, I know the computer says equal, but I mean, you're playing a simul, right? How about positions I don't want to get in a simul for 100, Alex? Shout out to International Master Greg Shahadi, who's going to be on Jeopardy tonight. But this is not the position that you want when you're playing a simul. Quite an imbalance. A queen and a pawn for a couple minor pieces, an open king. Let's fast forward to the live position. That was missed by black, if we can call it that. And now the blue arrow means it is unequivocally the best move. In fact, it's basically the move you have to play if you want to retain your advantage. Knight to e5. And it's not, luckily for Alex, not that hard of a move to find. I mean, your knight wants to go to e5 anyway, pressuring the bishop and, of course, double attacking the backward c pawn. I think she'll find it, but I'm also not sure she's even looking at this game at the moment.
Yeah, I think she's found it already, Mike, and she's zoomed in on the weak point, which is the backward C pawn. And I think in this particular position, we're going to be looking at knight b4. And black is really in grovel mode, trying to hold this weakness on c6, which is not going anywhere. And just white has a dream position. Great knights on an outpost as well, and everything to play for. And the best thing in chess is when you have the advantage and you have a plan. And there goes the knight. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, this is the kind of position you want in a simul. You've got one fixed weakness and you just load them up in a million times. So she's really turned the tables here. She could have had a very crazy position with her king being wide open and her queen leaving the chessboard. Instead, she got a very straightforward position, just pile up on c6. This is the live position and she's doing well. This is the game she's doing the best in. Now, we haven't checked in that losing game. We should probably at least touch base there for a moment. I mean, it's been a while, but Ashley Chan is the next star of Canadian women's chess. Let's give her, she shouldn't be penalized for winning the game so early. We shouldn't toss her out of the limelight. We should give her some love here. So let's go over to that game. And yeah, there's been no conversion problem so far. She's still up in exchange. She's still got a phalanx of queenside pawns, and the white pieces are still kind of sitting dormantly. So things are still going well there for Ashley. She looks very calm, as she should.
Yeah, she's really in business mode here. She played the opening fantastically. She took the opportunity that was presented, and she's just cashing in, as we say. The queenside pawns are going to be advancing, and it doesn't matter whether it takes 100 moves or 30 moves or 5 moves. The result is going to be inevitable.
Yeah, so great job, Ashley. Let's move over to Kenneth's game. He's probably the person we've taken the longest to go back to. So Alex versus Kenneth. Again, Alex does get white on all 4 boards. She did start with 65 minutes to 15. We tried to give her as many advantages as possible. Of course, the disadvantage is that she's got a lot of ego at stake when you're playing 4 kids in front of your audience. She is streaming on her own channel, but we're glad to have you here. So this is another comfortable position for a simul because she's got b5 ready whenever she's ready to go for it. And she's just building up slowly. There's not a lot of analysis required here. So computer actually says black's better, but white's got the plan of b5. So what's black's plan?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I did wonder whether black's plan was also to go b5. But as you can see, I'm probably rather obsessed with black getting a knight to the c4 square in this particular structure. I've been advocating for it in several games. And other plans would be, I guess, could you even try for b6? I guess not, because the pawn on a6 is hanging. But yeah, I don't know why the engine would even think that this is slightly better for black, unless there's some tactical try.
Yeah, also confusing to me. But you being a lifelong Caro player and literally writing the book on the subject, I'm going to defer to you. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe it is b5, knight c4. I will admit, this is one hole in my chess knowledge. To me, it's very hard to play b5 and give yourself that backward pawn on c6. Especially, and I don't think this is happening, but if Kenneth takes a peek at, is it Abigail's game where she's got the weak backward c6 pawn? I think it is. He might get, visions of, oh no, I don't want it to happen to me as well. But that might be also a false equivalency, thinking that it's the same as him. But you know what? He's only got $1.36 left. He does get 15 seconds per move. But vamonos, Kenneth, we got to get you moving here. I hope you're quite aware of your clock because you're getting pretty low on time here.
Yeah, and the thing is also, I gotta say, Alex's plan is also pretty straightforward. It's just to enjoy the space. And everyone will be like, well, how, Yofi? And literally, you don't need to do much. You can just shuffle the pieces. And I have suffered so many games against grandmasters, Mike. You would not believe, where they just go, yeah, now I'm going to go rook b1. And then you make a move and they go, yeah, but I'm also going to go queen c3 or queen c2. And I'm just going to wait it out. And at some point, someone breaks and is like, enough of this nonsense, I just want to do something. It's not easy for black to comfortably just wait around in the position. So I like this position a lot for Alexandra. The only thing that again that I've spoken about is that in these kind of structures you do need to worry about the king safety for white. So there might be ideas of going h5, g6, king g7, and creeping forward in that direction. But it takes a special kind of person. And I learned this plan from Anatoly Karpov when I was a kid. And so I really like doing it. So it's like, oh, now I creep forward.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, that plan didn't even come into my mindset. But you do have to do something as black. You just want to sit there. For a minute, I thought she was using the clock as a weapon. You wouldn't think that the Simmel giver would use the clock as a weapon, but she played rook b1 rather instantly after queen b6. Now, there is a 15-second increment, and honestly, maybe she was just looking at this game at the time and just knew that was going to be her move. But it almost looked like she noticed that Kenneth's clock was so low. And that's why she decided to play the move rook b1 so quickly. But now she's legitimately thinking, I'm not sure which game she's looking at. Let's take a look at the bird's eye here, because I think all four kids are getting a little bit low on time. And there we see them all in their glory, their big moment in the sun. But a lot of work left. Remember, the goal is to get 2.5 out of 4. Somebody in the chat asked me, what's the score? Nobody has scored yet. Although top left, we've been thinking it's 1 for the kids for a while, but not officially. It's still a chess game until somebody resigns or gets checkmated. But the other kids are relatively equal positions. Alex's position against Abigail in the bottom left, that's her best with that weak c6 pawn. And Yovi, what else do you see that I'm missing?
Yeah, no, I also drawn to Abigail's because Abigail just went under the minute. And that's always the time when I leap up in excitement and await the panic that is impending. Because I tell you, Mike, I have commented on many, many games, and I have noticed that the human mind can only withstand tension for, I'm going to say, like 30 moves. And then at some point, it's really beautiful to watch. Now, again, this makes me sound like I'm a bad person, but like then they reach that point where the tension just breaks them. Anything happens, and it's like then that happens to the opponent as well, and then it becomes a free-for-all and a scramble, and then it's just pandemonium on the board. And yeah, but Abigail is definitely suffering. She's got that long-term weakness on c6. Maybe we can check in on the game between Alexandra and Larissa, because we left with knight e5, the rook moving to b6, and decisions being made. I would say that Larissa's still solid, although she's definitely uncomfortable because her pieces are just uncoordinated.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be noted here, just it's not like a traditional Simmel. They're playing as a team. So even if Abigail's position gets worse, she is well advised to keep playing because it helps her teammates by distracting Alex. So that's a point we like to bring up at least once per show. It's not unsportsmanlike in any way. In fact, it is encouraged to keep playing a losing position, maybe to an extent. If you get down a queen, I'm not sure what the etiquette is there, but certainly even if you're slightly worse, yeah, you don't want to resign. But okay, the bishop's in danger. So a real question being put to Alex. And by the way, I'm not rooting for this, but it is totally possible you come back to a game and you forget what your opponent's last move was, and you just hang a bishop. Am I speaking from personal experience? Maybe, okay. But sometimes you come back from the Simmel, you just forget about stuff. But I do think she's gonna move the bishop. I don't think she's gonna allow the trade in any way. So would you imagine the bishop goes back to h2 or to f2?
Yeah, maybe h2. And by the way, I'm with you. I have played many Simmels, and sometimes I've gotten to a board and I'm like, I have no recollection of playing. And I'm like, did they make moves? And everyone turns around and says, no. You made those terrible moves all by your own accord. And I'm like, oh, okay. How did this happen? But did she play the bishop on e1? That's also really clever. Oh,
It's
bishop
the move we didn't talk
a5
about.
incoming.
Yeah, this is crazy. So she went here, giving lip service to the idea of bishop a4, a5. And the best move for black, you can see the blue arrow. We don't draw those. That's the ghost in the machine. The machine says, let them have cake. You can have bishop a5 because I'm going to play bishop h4 and get the knight to g3. Let's take a look at that. If bishop h4, I'm going to doubt that bishop a5 is good, but Yovi, who gets the better of this position after knight to g3?
Yeah, it's an interesting question and one I don't have a clear-cut answer to because I would be very nervous as a human of giving away those dark squares, you know?
Mhm.
And so I kind of feel like black would be slightly happier. Let's not give it any assessments like that because you have something to play for, and white will always have to be worried about the dark squares. So I wouldn't necessarily go in that direction.
Yeah, I'm on Team
It would make
Yogi.
me
I have no
nervous.
idea why the computer says equal, because if you have to give away your bishop to get the rook, and you're only going to get your opponent's knight for the rook, and this guy gets to stay alive, from a human perspective, I agree with you. That just looks totally weird. Let's go back and see if any moves have been played here. Bishop h4 was not found. I mean, bishop h4 is a very hard move to find, if you ask me, unless you come to the realization that there's no other way to stop bishop a5. Is there a quote-unquote normal defensive move? I actually don't know that I see one.
Well, the thing is, though, you might go, well, bishop a5 isn't a problem because the knight can come to g3.
Mhm.
But whether you'll be thinking in terms of bishop h4, I don't know. That's kind of dependent on you seeing that white can also threaten g4, which is something that it is very typical for white to do in this type of position. And yes, it looks like it's a weakening move because suddenly the white's king is a little bit more exposed. But look at black's pieces, they're all far behind. So she hasn't played it, Mike.
Yeah, we got a big move here. You're exactly right. G4 first, forcing the knight back, then bishop a5 was the winning idea. And that's why the bishop had to come to h4 to force the action. But instead, this move knight to f5. Now, similar overtones, right? We want to answer g4 with a knight coming in, but maybe it's going to cost black a couple of knights to win the rook. Let's have some fun. We get the luxury of moving the pieces. The computer doesn't want me to do this, but let's just find out
No.
why. Because go ahead.
Can we go bishop takes knight first? Can we delay
Yeah, we
it for
should.
one move? Yeah, bishop
should.
takes knight first and then go g4.
Right,
Sorry.
because let's take back with a pawn. No, it is the right move. The blue arrow was telling us that it just looked so tempting to play g4. So now g4, and then, okay, you can trade pawns once if you want, or not, doesn't matter. Now the knight has to go back, but look at the timing. The bishop guards g3 for the moment, waits for the knight to move back, and then the bishop makes its triumphant entrance into a5. Very nicely spotted there, Yovi, and I think that white will find that. It actually, you know what? I think it is kind of the human response, right? If you play g4, you have to analyze crazy positions with the knight coming in and then taking the rook, and then you take this knight, and then you hope to trap the knight on f1. That's actually pretty complicated. I think bishop takes f5 is just cleaner. It's just easier to analyze. Let's
Yes.
get the live position, and we're still waiting to see if she can find it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is also for Alex is whether I think she was going to take that knight because I don't see how else to stop a knight landing on g3. So I think that's going to happen. Well, whether she will back it up with g4, that is something that you will have to overcome, breaking the rules, because we are taught time and time again, especially, when we're young, you don't weaken your king, don't push the pawns, because you can never take it back. You'll leave behind weak squares. And you got to throw that out of the window and go, no, it works. King is safe. I will pick up material.
It's a big moment. She's got to find it. I do think she will. Now, to set the scene for you, she's totally lost against Ashley Chan from Canada, but big advantage against Abigail. She's had that for a while. If she finds bishop takes f5, big advantage against Larissa. And then it'll all come down to that game with Kenneth, which is relatively equal, but Kenneth is down to a minute. In fact, Abigail, Kenneth, and Larissa are all down to a minute or less. The only player that's got a comfortable time is Ashley with 4 minutes, and she's got a very comfortable position as well. So this looked like it might have been a little bit of a one-sided match when that game against Ashley got turned south very quickly. But now it's actually incredibly interesting, and we're going to see if she can defend the honor of the stars against the kids.
Yeah. And yeah, I completely agree with you. Earlier, you said Alexandra is famous for the Botez Gambit, giving up the queen and winning. It's very much going in that direction. It was a disaster by move 8 with the white pieces. It was just horrendous. And okay, she's just kind of gone, yeah, I'm going to keep that game going, just prolong the inevitable, and then focus in those three critical games. And she survived the worst of it because the kids did put her under big pressure. And now she's the one enjoying putting them under pressure, especially with the clock ticking down.
You know, Magnus lost game one against Jan Krzysztof Duda and game one against Denis Lazovic this weekend and went back to win both matches. In fact, funny story, he lost game one to Denis Lazovic at the Speed Chess Championship finals in London. And I went up to his dad in the moment and I was like, is there any chance he lost on purpose because he's such a stage man that he wanted to give the audience an incredible comeback? Of course, I was joking. I don't think Magnus would ever lose a game on purpose, but it makes for great drama, right? When you drop a game and you make a comeback, it's a better story than just winning more prosaically. And maybe that's the verge of what we're having happen here. Maybe she's learning from Magnus and making a comeback.
Makes for a good hustle as well. Make people think that you are weak.
She's got some hustle videos on her channel. I'm just saying. Okay, no, there's no way that any chess player, broadcasting or otherwise, drops a game unless, there's some kind of like very special element. Okay, bishop takes knight. She's got 60 minutes to find it, and she kind of needs to because otherwise knight g3 is a big problem. All right, well, I don't even know if she's looking at this game, so maybe we should jump to one of the other games, or you know what? Let's go to the bird's eye because that way we can keep an eye on this critical move. Bishop takes f5 while looking at some of the other games. And I see Kenneth scratching his head there, wondering, am I going to be the key game here? Is it all going to come down to me?
It probably will be because that one is the one I suspect where things could turn in either direction. I think that Alexandra's doing very well against Abigail. We saw that she just has to find this key move against Larissa, but it really feels like anything goes because, well, Kenneth is good. You know, he's understood that his strong points are getting a knight to the e4 square, and he's going to be doing that. I remember we talked about plans. You know, white is very comfortable on the queen side. Black in return is the one that is going to be gaining space on the king side. It's still cagey stuff.
You want to point out her clock is officially ticking on all four boards. She's down to about 15 minutes, a little bit less than some boards. She's doing a great job of keeping her time balanced. There's no board where she's got significantly more or less time, but her clock is officially ticking on all four boards. I don't know how she has not won Abigail Zoe's C6 pawn yet. I mean, it's still a liability, but she still hasn't actually managed to win it yet.
Maybe she's not looking that direction. I'm kind of curious as to which game she is considering. Because it does seem oblivious to the fact that her clock is ticking on all four boards. So maybe we can just peek in and have a listen, Mike.
Yeah, let's try to get that set up. I'm actually spying her channel now, by the way, and she's looking at the Kenneth game. Unless there's a huge lag or something. That is the game that she's looking at, but if we can, let's jump in. Let's jump in her audio right now.
No, keeping the knights here makes the most sense to me still. I'm getting so low on time.
Still talk about the Kenneth game. She's hyper aware of her time.
I just don't know what to do in this position.
Yeah.
Because my knights are just stuck here defending things. Oh. Okay, maybe we just try not to lose on this board because I'm getting low on all the boards now. So I'm going to have to go so much faster. I just wish the kids would make the mistakes instead of me. That would be lovely.
But it's so easy to deep dive into one position and forget about the rest.
Okay.
It absolutely is. And she's aware that,
I feel like I'm going to be rage baited into playing this at some point, and that's going to be a big problem. So I need to not do that. I can't push any of these pawns.
Don't know if the kids are actually rage baiting her.
If I just move here and here for now.
She feels targeted.
Here, you push me, fine. I go back. Actually, here, I go back here for now. You take back with the knight. And then my knight has that square.
Okay, so she's fixated on this one game, which means her
So I need to
clock
play
is ticking
faster.
on all the other
This game,
boards.
like I said, basically resignable, but we're still suffering. Okay, we take here.
Okay, well, anyway,
Um,
we got a few thoughts from her. We'll get
okay.
back to us. I'm going to offer a strategy here, Yovi. If I was her, I would look at all four boards from a bird's eye. Okay, I'm not suggesting we go back to bird's eye. I'm just saying, okay, we can go back to bird's eye. But the point is
Yeah.
this: I would resign the game I'm lost. I would leave the Kenneth game aside, knowing that that game is equal. And it doesn't even matter if her clock gets down to 1 minute. She's got a 15-second increment. And I would try my best to pick off one of the two games I have a big advantage in and just start reducing the number of games. I don't think the piecemeal approach is the best approach. I know I'm living in a bit of a dream world bubble where I'm just saying things, but I think that's the actual approach that I would use.
I agree with you. Although, what would I do against Kenneth? Because that one is the most complicated. Definitely resign. Resign the Ashley game because that is done and dusted. You're never going to save that one. And just say, well done. Against Kenneth, what I would be doing, I would make sure I'd play nothing critical. So I would wait and see. Like I would just mess around with the pieces, trade a few of them off, and I would be focusing all of the attention in the other two games because that's where she has the advantage. Because ultimately, Kenneth, that game can be a draw. If she wins against Abigail and Larissa, and I'm saying this and I'm just having a look and I can see that she did not find Mike, bishop takes f5. So suddenly things are still critical there. Oh, okay, so now is the time to go back to square one and think, because
And Larissa
the dark
found this
squares.
bishop h4 idea. Yeah, exactly. We were talking about it before. You know what happened is she spent so much time on the Kenneth game, she switched over to this game and she's like, I just got to make a move. I can't spend 5 more minutes on a game. And so I think that's what's probably happened here. Bishop h4 was found maybe one move later than she should have played it, but she eventually got it there. And now there's just going to be huge problems in the dark squares for the rest of the game. So I don't know. Most of her advantage has gone away. She's still better in the Abigail Zoe game, but the path to her finding 2.5 points has gotten a lot narrower.
Yeah, definitely. Well, she's now found bishop takes knight. I think that was a must, actually. And, well, Larissa is finding ways to untangle as well, just making some trades and still super balanced. I would still say that Alex is the one with advantage in that particular position because the rook on b6 and the rook on c8 are not working together. And white does now have the plan of switching to the queen side and trying to take control of the c line. But once again, before it was clearly better, and now here you're gonna have to grind out, a position which is objectively drawn. You can just see Mike on the camera that Alex is not that happy now.
Yeah, got her head against her temple. Her clock is down to 10 minutes on all four boards. Another great example of where her clock is ticking unnecessarily. She can capture the bishop with either rook, just put the onus back on Larissa to make the next move, but she's just not looking at that game, which is, well, it's going to cost her some time on the clock for sure. Against Abigail, she has finally won the c6 pawn. Let's jump over to Abigail because she might be able to score her first victory in this game. I'm going to jump to it. And we don't really need to go back. We know that she was going to win that c6 pawn at some point. But you know what? It's still kind of a difficult conversion because in this position, she has to first win the b pawn, and all the pawns are still on the same side of the chessboard. So clearly winning, but it's not like it just wins itself. She's got some work to do.
I think it's Alex's move, right? Is there anything stopping her from capturing the b pawn? Okay, she does that. And the only thing she has to worry about, and I sound like a bit of a broken record, is the king. As long as you make sure that the king on g1 is perfectly safe and that the pawns are going to be intact, then this one should win itself.
Yeah, the only
So,
danger
like,
would
what I'm
be
trying
this.
to get at is, like, knight to d2 is an idea that I see. Like, just not, you are trying to be sly about it, and then say you make a move, and now you go rook a1. And there's no way to escape the perpetual.
Yeah. Yeah, you were slyer than me. I was going to play rook check first and knight d2, but you have the art of slyness by playing knight d2 first. I love it. So that is the one danger. And you know what? what to do when you're losing is definitely an art form. It's almost like somebody should write a Chessable course about that. Oh, wait, I did. Oh, wait, it's happening here. Rook takes d5, knight d2, fully approved from Funmaster Mike in my Chessable course. When you're down to kind of like 3 pawns, you have to try something. Will white see rook a1, knight f1? Let's see. This is the big moment for Alex. In a simul, anything can be missed.
And just to update you, Mike, the kids have taken the lead as Ashley, well, we expected it from Move 10. She has won. So Alex now fighting a deficit.
We're very sorry, Ashley, that you got so little attention in this game. That's because you're too good and you won quickly. But we did put you on the giant Jumbotron in Trafalgar Square last summer. So there is that. And Ashley, we'd love to have you back for a future event. Congratulations on your big win. G3, Alex found it. No, wait, we're still not quite out of the woods because there's something in chess called the hookmate. If black could somehow get a pawn to G4 and this knight goes back to F3, then rook A1, rook G1, would be a checkmate. That checkmate actually did happen, I believe, in one of Nihal Sarin's games. He won by a miracle hookmate in the, what just happened? The Chess.com Open. Okay, King G2, though, getting the king to a safe place is recommended by Mr. Computer.
Yes, yeah, the knight isn't very stable on F3, so definitely chase it away. What I was thinking of is you could try to target the F pawn as well, getting a knight to E4, but okay, King G2, I definitely think that Alex is going to be playing that, perhaps once she arrives to that board, because unless she has made that move, because she does have her attentions diverted to some of the other games.
Yeah, this is frustrating because an experienced player like Alex knows she's totally winning, but she has to keep making moves. There's still a couple of checks, couple of annoyances. It's totally within Abigail's right. In fact, she should be playing this out. And yet it distracts her from that equal game against Kenneth. And it also distracts her from that game versus Larissa, where she's got those really, really weak dark squares. So this one, most of the danger is gone, but still more moves have to be played. Let's go back to the old bird's eye and see what's going on here as Alex dips to 8 minutes on her 3 remaining clocks. She is -1 in the match, but looking very good on the game that we just left. There we see Kenneth with hand to his forehead. He's got the equal position. He's had to play Rey Enigma. It might all come down to him versus Alex Botez. And there we have Larissa in the bottom right playing out of Costa Rica. Go for it, Yobi.
No, I was just going to say, if the kids can hold on and get Alex to burn the time on the clock, it's going to be physically impossible for her to make the moves quickly, right? 15 seconds is not enough to make a move.
We're going to have to have
all three
Andrea
boards.
come in. Andrea's going to come in and help out. No, just kidding. That's not allowed. It would be nice. I mean, she does have a little indicator when it's her move. She actually is showing that on her stream, but it's not like it's a chiming bell or something. You actually have to look at the clocks to see if it's your move. You think about how helpful that would be if somebody just buzzed you and like, it's your move against Kenneth, your move against Larissa. Actually would be really helpful, but it's on her to notice these things, just like a regular chess game. There's literally no outside help involved.
Yeah, and I agree. No outside help. That's what we want. But she's doing well enough on her own. I see that the position against Larissa, she is still in control. And the issue that I mentioned for Larissa is that her rooks were not coordinated. The knight on e5 was such a big thorn, preventing black from doubling on the c line. That would be a great equalizing move. As it stands, I got to say one good thing about Larissa's position is that she can reroute the knight from h5 over to e4. And if she does that, I think she'll be happier, at least.
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm not sure what else that knight would be doing there unless she's getting, some real dreams of somehow invading on g3. So I think she'll do that in due time. Now, white, of course, can expand with g4 and go a little bit crazy opening up the g file. I don't know if that's the right plan. As you said, you could just take advantage of the fact that the rooks are discoordinated and try to win on the c file. That looks a little bit more of a cogent way of playing, but she's down to 5 minutes now on her 3 remaining boards. Abigail's actually going up on time. It's the nice thing about being in a losing position, right? She's just playing some checks, gaining those 15 seconds. But it's going to get really, really interesting here. Alex is down one game. Ashley enjoys the fruits of her win. Now she's hoping that her friends south of the Canadian border can score some points and the kids can get their first ever win against the Stars. The Stars are 4-0 in our 1v4 format.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I like Alex's approach to this. You know, she's consistently gone for a strategic plan where she can, minimizing risk. And the kids, they've been resilient. I've been, again, impressed by the ideas that they found. And, you know, Kenneth, I thought was on the back foot. Now I see that Kenneth is also holding the balance. As you mentioned, Abigail, keeping the game alive, making sure that Alex has to burn some extra time on the clock. And Larissa still holding firm. I mean, if she can just regroup the pieces, she will be absolutely fine. But is this the question whether Alex can do something right here, right now? And I suspect we're going to see moves like Queen D2, Rook C1. Queen D2 was highlighted by the blue arrow. I just saw that. I'm looking at this
I'm giving you credit.
split.
You saw it. You're 2400. You saw it.
Queen D2, Rook C1, you know, take control. Yeah, you got to strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah, if this rook on b6 could just move like a bishop for one move and reroute to c7, then most of black's problems would be behind her, as you've pointed out. But as Grandmaster Sam Palatnik used to say, this rook is a sick buffalo. And what he meant is, one sick buffalo ruins the herd. When you've got one poor piece, it ruins your whole position. And this is a fantastic example of that. And I do apologize about the terrible Russian accent. So the rook on b6. And Queen d2 was found. Nice job by Alex. She's down to 4 minutes in the game where she found it. Now we're going to keep the clock going. She's down to less than 4 minutes. It's time to officially break out the stress pawn because I'm getting nervous for her. On the board, she's doing fine. As you pointed out, Yovi, playing 3 games only on increment, not going to be so easy. I think she can play Rook C1 right away if she's looking at this game. What else would you play?
Yeah, that's what her previous moves have all set up for. So I think Rook C1, but I suspect that her attention is being captured by the Kenneth game because that one is still so double-edged. You know, white has a good night, black has a good night, and it's so easy just to get suckered into thinking about these difficult positions.
Absolutely. We'll stay on the bird's eye, but you're exactly right. The knights hopping in, I mean, knights are the pieces you least want to see when you're low on the clock, especially in a simul. There's like knights dancing all around her head. Even in that game she's winning against Abigail, there are knights on the chessboard. So that would be a nice variant. If I ever get cajoled into doing this event, I'm going to say yes, but all 4 games start with no knights. That's going to be my one rule. And my bosses are going to be like, we can't do that. And I'm going to say, sorry, can't play. That's my way out of it. But I hate knights in positions like this. And yeah, you have to deal with a lot of forking possibilities, not to mention the fact your rook is just simply en prise in the position. And now she's down to 2.5 minutes on 3 boards. We've never had this happen in Kids versus Stars, where the star has gotten this low on this number of boards. So it's going to get really interesting. It is a 15-second increment at least.
Yeah, but it's so difficult, Mike, to cast your attention to 3 games. And they could still get critical because against Larissa, let's just put it this way, she has to be accurate. Her advantage could be fleeting if she is imprecise. Against Abigail, she has to keep an eye for the forks, as you mentioned. Also, the fact that the pawn on f2 is a target and the backward knight moves. And against Kenneth, anything could happen. It really is a situation like that.
I agree. Okay, she's traded 1 knight against Kenneth again. Maybe she heard me. She's like, can't deal with all these knights. Let's get rid of some of them. So that's at least a minor accomplishment. She's still getting checked by Abigail. She has gotten her rook to the open file against Larissa, but she's now down to about 2 minutes. And I know traditionally when we've done this event, people in the chat have been like, hey, 65 minutes to 15 minutes starting time. That doesn't feel right. This is kind of what we had in mind, okay? 65 minutes evaporates really quickly if you're not able to finish off any games quickly. And she was not. She got finished off by Ashley Chen. And this is the big danger. Okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, not for her, but for the rest of us to see if she can handle this situation with 3 boards still happening.
And all games now under 2 minutes. Okay, so she's trying to go for the simple approach against Abigail, swap off a set of knights. I like this approach. I think it works well. But wait 1 second. Against Abigail, Alex has dropped to 1 pawn. Probably still not the end of the world. It's still very much winning for Alex, but it just goes to show it's easy to lose control. And they always say, Mike, that blunders come in pairs as well. And she's gone for broke. Well, not gone for broke, but she's struck out against Kenneth with going b5. And yeah, she's in full control. She's doing everything beautifully against Larissa. She's taking control of the C line. So now it's just to come in.
In fact, I think queen c8, just a simple trade of queens might win, because if the queens trade, and let's actually jump really quickly into that game with Larissa. So in this position, she's finally, I found it before the blue arrow that time. Okay, I promise you. Queen c8, and then you pretty much have to trade queens because the white queen's too strong, and you can't guard the knight with king to f8 because, of course, Forktown population d7, and this time the knights actually work in her favor. I think she'll find this. She needs to get one of these games done. So the whole match might rest on whether or not she can finish off this one game quickly. Queen c8 kind of ends the game.
And I'm just looking at the clock as well. You know, she's now down to like 1 minute and 25 seconds on all 3 boards. So she's found queen c8. Obviously, you can't capture queens. So Larissa immediately plays queen to e7. And where's the killer blow? Is it just simply to double up on the 8th line?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Queen over and rook up. Of course, black has rook d6, rook d8. But that's a little slow. I don't know. But this is so frustrating. I announced queen c8 was winning, and Larissa, to her very much credit, has found a way to prolong the complications by playing queen to e7, which is great for her and for her team.
Yeah. Well, if Alex is going to continue to trend, I suspect that she'll just go b3. She'll go b3 and then go... Oh, no, she's gone queen to b8. This is a nice move. So now the question is, rook c8 is incoming. Either you're going to go f6, chase away the knight on e5, or go rook takes p2 and go in for the penny, in for the pound. I don't know what's happening here. Let's fingers crossed and hope to survive.
Okay, she's down to less than a minute on 3 boards. We got to go to the bird's eye because anything can happen literally at any moment with her clock so low, on so many boards.
Yeah. And I'm quite relieved now with this 15-second increment, because at first it sounded like it was a lot of time, but now when you have 35 seconds, 42, you're going to be praying for that additional seconds. And I gotta say, take a look against the Abigail. I mean, Abigail fighting hard, making life complicated.
Okay, she won a piece against Larissa. I'm not going to take you in to show it to you, but when black played f6, black forgot there were certain forks on g6, so now she's totally in control, up a queen versus rook, but black is not resigning, nor should she. She's still got to play to mate. You can't get flagged, and you can't take your attention off of any one of these 3 games, even for a moment. Still winning against Abigail, still winning even bigger against Larissa, but she's got to finish the games off. It is probably going to come down to Kenneth, but don't get flagged, Alex, on those 2 boards.
Yeah, and yeah, anything can happen. Anything can happen, but there's definitely not a fortress against Larissa. That one is something actually that Alex will be feeling quite happy, because she can throw in the checks here, there, and everywhere and just build up the time on the clock. But it's the game against Abigail.
Yep, sorry. Queen h5 mate is the threat. Abigail's game is getting a little more dicey. That d-pawn should have gotten a lot further than it's gotten.
Still winning, but it's not
she might
as
play
easy.
Hook mate. She might play f5, knight g6, rook h8 mate. It's funny. We were worried about hook mates against her. She might have to use that same idea against Abigail. Let's see what she does. She does play
She's
f5.
gone for it.
Okay.
Okay.
That may need to play
G6.
g6.
Well, if you have to go G6,
Here?
then that's busted.
I
I
don't.
think we may have been tuning into her. Are we listening to her now? Okay, so
Yep.
let's listen to
Okay,
her on her
finish.
thoughts.
Great. Now we just have these two to deal with. I don't. So I'm seeing if there's a mate here. I feel like I'm trying to get my knight in there and then checkmate. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay. I really hope
She's
I didn't
focusing on the Abigail
throw.
game.
This one, I have an escape square. I have this as my threat now. Um. mm,
She seems nervous because she can't talk and play, which is her forte.
No.
Okay, anyway, she did get one of the games done, and she looks like she's won an exchange against Abigail, which should make that much easier. It's going to come down to the game with Kenneth.
Yes, yes, it's definitely she's going to be winning against Abigail now. That is just a clear-cut plan of advancing the e-pawn, and then at least she can relax. And yeah, we can see that in the camera there, like a little fist pump. Yes, she knows she's got it. Okay, but it's still anything goes against Kenneth.
Let's go over
She
there
has-
because she raised her hand. And yeah, tell us what's going on in this game.
Yeah, well, that is the million-dollar question. Not sure what's happening. Isn't there queen takes f7 in the air? Isn't this going to be super good for white? Yes, because it's all to do with king safety here in this type of positions. And the pawn on c5 is far away from advancing. And all the thing you have to worry about is you have to worry about rook to d1 ideas, followed by queen h5, but the h5 square is covered. And maybe if I were black, I would just go c4 and see what happens. But it's actually Alex to play.
She's got mate in one, and she did finish off Abigail. So here we go. 1, 2 points for Alex. Okay, amazing how I can't get the score right. Even my brain is fried. She did lose the game against Ashley. She only needs a draw in this game. If Kenneth wins, then the kids get their first ever drawn match against a star.
Yeah, that would be big for the kids as well. Well, we've seen actually Alex just being very practical here because she knows a draw is sufficient. Why not trade of queens? Minimize
play
the
rook c7, yeah.
Exactly, minimize the danger. And here it's not like Kenneth can try anything aggressive, bearing in mind his king is so vulnerable.
Yeah, so if you realize a draw is all you need, you just trade. Black has to take with the rook. I guess you could guard f2, but then you run the risk of the rook coming and supporting the pawn. So you just play rook here. Actually, is this the easiest path to a draw? I might be second guessing myself because after rook takes, it's actually black who gets to crunch the e-pawn first. I'm not saying it's not a draw. I'm saying I want an easy path to a draw. I don't want to defend any position where I'm going to be a pawn down. So that is maybe something I'm going to take back. Erase that from your memory. Not the easiest path to a draw.
Well, it could be though. It's just you perhaps defend the f-pawn. Maybe that could be one way to do it. She's definitely thinking about trading queens, and she's gone for it. And here, I would do as you suggest. Not go rook c7 because of the vulnerabilities of the e-pawn, but go king to g1. Mm-hmm. Okay, she actually, this is also very smart. She crunched the e-pawn.
Yeah, that is much smarter. Well done. And now both sides have a passed pawn, so it should be a draw of best play. If she plays rook c4, that's the quickest way to a draw. If she doesn't, then she's totally, what's a good word? Indefatigable. She really wants to beat as many kids as possible. Now she played g4. Okay, she's not content with winning this match 2.5 to 1.5. She wants to win 3-1 if she can.
Mm-hmm. And that would be something. But I think Kenneth has something to say about that because he's advancing. He's saying, "Hey, you take my c-pawn, I'll take your e-pawn, and we can call it quits." But look! In comes the king. I agree. Alex is hungry. Okay, why?
Okay, now she's technically down a pawn, although I guess king d3, king e2, rook d2. Yeah, you're still kind of down a pawn. Although if you play king e2, rook d2, king f3, rook d3, we might get in some circular logic here, where it ends up being a strange repetition that way. Maybe in order to guard the pawn, you have to acquiesce to the repetition. Let's see.
Well,
If
no,
rook
no, hang on,
d3.
c2.
Rook
c2
c2
is in
or
the
pawn
air,
c2.
Mike.
Yeah, good point. Oh, she's made things a little tricky. She didn't have to do this.
No. Well,
Still a
now it's time
draw.
for the black king to come in. I know, I can see things going wrong.
Yeah, you could get Zugzwand in this position. I think her decision not to trade c for e pawns, she's wishing she had not made that decision. She could have essentially had this endgame with the c pawn missing. But she decided to play for, I guess you could say, a win? I'm not too sure. All right, Kenneth, the entire under 12 cohort chess playing population of the world is resting their hopes on you.
You can be sneaky here. You can go rook h2, and if you go king d3, you go rook g2. And so, yeah, of course, Alex saw that, so king f4. The big problem, though, for black is that you can't utilize the king. The king is stuck there. And you go king f7.
Yeah, but king f7, you can't be checked and losing you're not losing the g7 pawn because the c2 pawn needs to be babysat. So I would have been a fan of playing king f7 and walking the king out a little bit.
Yeah, me too. But this is nice defense, though, from Alex.
Yeah, I guess she could still win if her pawn gets to g6, but I don't really think we're playing for 3 results. Both players have plenty of time now with that 15-second increment. I will say, of all the episodes we've done, this one has come down to the wire the most.
Mike. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, she must not be tempted to go king g6, set up a box mate, otherwise known as a rook and king checkmate, because rook f6 would win the game for black. So,
I think we have time to show that because they're going to be playing a bunch of checks here. So in this position, king here, not quite checkmate, but the idea, but then a very, very timely trade of rooks. And when the rooks trade the pawns forward, very nicely found Yovi. Let's go back to the live position because that didn't happen. She didn't fall into the trick. Nice job by Kenneth, though, for trying for that trick.
Yeah. Well, now here comes.
Well, now that time it was mate. That time king g6, it was actually a real mate threat. But yeah.
Yeah. We're seeing the closing of the game because now you're forced to repeat the position.
Okay, wow, what an intense match. Congratulations to Alex Botez for hanging on after, by all accounts, not the best start. We are going to be able to talk to Alex, though, after this is over. We're going to get her thoughts if she has any energy or nerves left. So when we come back from this short break, we're going to actually, we're actually not going to go. We're not going to go to break. We're actually just going to get her in here and talk to her in the moment, which is great. No chance for her nerves to die down. Alex, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Congratulations. Was that the worst 2 hours of your life?
It was a very stressful 2 hours of my life, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Don't love completely throwing one of the games so early, but it is what it is.
Well, I didn't want to start there, but since you started there, tell us what went through your brain when you saw knight e4 and how unstoppable this idea was.
Well, first I saw, wow, I just blundered a pawn on d4. And then knight e4 came and I thought, this is really embarrassing. But, you know, she still gave me no chances, so that was really good.
And I did ask you before the show, you already told me, but do you still want Andrea, now that you've done this, do you still want your little sister Andrea to go through this torture herself?
I mean, I think it would be hilarious, but she's going to have to consent to it, you know? Or I'm going to have to win something, and that's her punishment.
Love it.
Yeah. I just want to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how enjoyable is this victory over the kids?
I'm glad I won. If I lost to the kids, I would be really embarrassed. In that last game, I thought I actually threw and maybe should have lost. So I'll take it. Even though I'm afraid of kids, I hoped to win by a bigger margin. But you know what? A win is still a win.
But what I noticed about you is that you seem to get more and more confident as the games wore on. Like you found your positions and you were like, yep, I'm gonna kill any activity, and you were full control.
I appreciate it. I was trying.
I noticed at the end of the match, most of your games had knights on them. There was knights everywhere. Was there, did you notice that and how frustrating that must have been playing a symbol with all these knights?
Oh, that's so funny. I actually didn't think about that, but you're right. It was a nightmare in my stream title and on the board.
Well said. Now, I want you to be honest with me now that the match is over. When you were getting set up for the match and you saw the ratings of the kids, do you think that we stacked the deck against you? Did you think that you were an underdog going into this match?
Well, two of the kids were 1900 FIDE, and I know that anyone in North America is super underrated. So, like, I bet their Canadian rating is well over 2000. So yeah, and I told my assistant, I was like, "Why are there 2000s in this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's too late." And I thought, great, that's what happened.
Awesome.
But they played
And
well, honestly. Good job for the kids. Proud
yeah,
of our young talent.
I have one final question, and I was just going to ask you that those final moments when you got to those three games and you had like close to a minute left on the clock. How on earth did you keep calm?
That's very sweet of you to ask. I was not calm. I just stopped calculating and started playing by intuition. So I'm sure I made some mistakes there, but at least we didn't flag.
Well, Alex, you're a true sport for doing this. You know, I always wonder why creators actually say yes. I know in your case, you lost a bet to Anna. I do hope we can get your younger sister to do this. I'm going to help you curate the field against Andrea. You get to help decide the average rating of her opponents. So if, that's going to be your payment for helping cajole her into taking the hot seat. How does that sound?
I would love to have Andrea have such a fun experience like this. So I'm going to tell her about it. She's just getting back from Europe today. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's going to be an easy conversation, but we'll see what we can do.
Okay, that sounds good. We will let her pick the DJ set as well. We'll do anything we can, but we want to thank you for your time. I know that not much good can happen when you play four kids, but you survived to tell the tale, and I think that's awesome. So thank you, Alex, for joining
Sorry,
us
not
today.
just survived. We won the match. Thank you very much.
Yes, you did. You joined the ranks of all the other stars who won. You've kept the stars with a perfect 5-0 record. So congratulations for not letting that team down.
Thank you. I tried. I didn't want to let them down.
Okay, well, we'll let you go. I know you might continue your own personal stream with your audience. I'm not sure, but thanks again, and we'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the scoreboard. There we see Canada wins, and it says Abigail wins, but that didn't happen. USA did not win, and yeah, Kenneth, that was a draw for Mexico. And then there we go. I think we're going to fix that. Anyway, Costa Rica did not win. But anyway, she took care of business. Just barely 2.5 out of 4 games. Yovi, what were your final thoughts on the match?
Well, it was hugely enjoyable. I also got to say hats off to Alex as well, because going into it, she was like, you know what? I'm just not even going to prepare. I'm just simply going to dive in. Better to face this unknown. And, she had a nightmare start on one of those boards where it all went wrong, and not just after 10 moves. And she was able just to put that behind her and just go, you know what, it doesn't matter. Let's just focus on the other 3 games. And at one point, I thought that we were going to be looking at an easy kids victory. And that did not happen at all. And that was in big part due to Alex just being resourceful, just playing in a really calm positional way and just turning things in her favor. And she showed experience wins. But I also got to give congratulations to the kids, because they kept on fighting. And to get Alex to 1 minute on the clock with 3 games remaining, that was really something to see.
Yeah, that's a good way to close the show. Let's thank all the kids and their families for making this possible. We had women's FIDE master Ashley Chien from Canada. I'm not sure if she's on the Olympiad team yet, but she surely will be soon. We had Kenneth Alba from Mexico. We had women's candidate master Abigail Zoe from USA. And we also had women's candidate master Larissa Mayorga who both her and her older sister will be on the Costa Rica women's team in Samarkand. So hopefully, Larissa, if you're listening, I'd love to meet you out there in Uzbekistan. Congratulations to the kid. They are the next group of stars. Thank you to Alex Botez. And thank you, Yovi, for being such a great host and helping me out with all those Carlsbad positions. This was the perfect broadcast for you to join.
Oh, thank you very much, Mike. It was absolutely great fun. I wouldn't have missed this one for the world. So thank you.
It was super fun. Thanks again, of course, to always on my team. And chat, if you want to close the show by letting us know who you want to be the next star to play against, kids, please do that. But for now, Kids versus Stars is over. We'll see you next time on this recurring edition. Until then, I wish you a good day.